Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hey.
Welcome to another episode of Screen Heroes. I am Derek, one of your weekly hosts.
You are Derek.
I am.
You are.
I've got my other two weekly hosts with me, Ryan.
Hello.
And Ray.
I'm a unicorn.
You are a unicorn. I see
really
that.
loud.
For those of you who are not watching and are listening to this podcast.
We're sorry for your eardrums.
And then we have our, now I guess a regular guest on the show.
This is what, my fourth time? Well, how many times do they have to be on before we start paying them?
I mean, how many times do I have to be on before
Well, I think
start?
it's like 80. Is it 90 or is that? I mean, I can't
Triple
remember.
digits.
Gotcha.
Triple digits,
Triple.
yeah. But Robert's back.
Hello.
So welcome back.
Thank you.
Today we're going to be talking about the best fantasy movies and franchises, live action, right?
We're combining franchises, and we left off animation because we felt like we could do a whole other episode just on animation alone.
So yeah, so movies that might have made the list, like, you know, for example, Fern Gully is just
Absolutely.
not in the running for this stuff.
But easily could be in our top fantasy animated
You could
films.
just pick Avatar if you wanted to do that.
No.
No, that's
I'm gonna
I'm
hit
gonna
you.
rule that aside. I mean, they're basically the same thing. I know, but still.
Fern Gully was like 20 years earlier, but
Yeah.
hey, you know, whatever. So what you mean when you say we're combining franchises, that means that anything that has multiple films
Like, if you
will take
pick
up...
the Harry Potter, then just lump it all together.
Okay.
Because you can say which one was your favorite out of that or which one you think is the best, but let's not spend an entire podcast dedicated to how the 8 Harry Potter films take up, 8 spots on the top 20.
See, I mistook that and I left off franchises completely.
That's fair.
So,
That's,
Well,
that's
I don't think
cool
I have
too.
any franchises on mine either. But
I do. But
because I knew somebody else would hit the big franchises. That's what I was
Yeah.
thinking. You know.
I've got a list of 10 different things, so I got some backups and stuff.
Yeah.
I got
got
news happen this week.
Yeah, I think we did have some pieces of news. One thing happened just like a couple hours ago. The 2 directors of the Han Solo film have stepped away from the project together, citing creative differences with the production company, which in this case would be Disney.
You don't talk back to the House of Mouse.
Edgar
No.
Wright did. Edgar Wright left, which is exactly what these 2 guys have done.
So do you think that they're leaving or do you think they're being fired?
No, I think they're leaving.
Okay, that's fair.
Because it's happened before with Disney stuff now because of Ant-Man. I can totally understand where Edgar Wright at least was coming from, where you're so boxed in because of all the rules you have to follow,
Right.
that it's hard to bring your creative sense to it and not break those rules. And so in this case, they cited creative differences. So maybe it was a tone thing, maybe it was particular plot points, I don't know.
Maybe Disney wants to make it a trilogy and they just wanted to do a single movie like Rogue One.
Always possible, yeah, definitely.
They didn't know that Rogue 2 Electric Boogaloo was going to be confirmed so quickly after the movie was successful.
Right. It's a little interesting because at first when I read it, I thought they were stepping away from the project because the 2 of them had creative differences. Because, I mean, it's hard to direct a film by yourself, let alone with another person. I imagine that's,
I mean, that's why you usually only see co-directors that are brothers or sisters in the case of the Wachowskis, or, husband and wife. And really, like, the last husband and wife duo I've seen were the composers for Frozen. So it's not even a director thing. Most people don't do co-directors because of clashing.
Yeah. So that's what my first thought was it must be that the 2 of them were having some trouble. But that's not what the article said. So, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Any additional thoughts on that?
Not really. I mean, I'm eager to see who's going to take their place. Obviously, this movie's not slowing down.
No, they're already like halfway through production. So.
Right.
That worries me a bit more, though, because when you watch Ant-Man, you can kind of tell where the Edgar Wright stuff stops.
And where Peyton Reed starts.
But did that make it a worse movie for you?
Not for me, no. But we don't know how that'll impact the Han Solo film, and depending on who they get, it could be, drastic style differences. So
It's possible.
Very well could.
We'll see.
that was one big thing. There was a second.
There was a big internet witch hunt controversy over Gal Gadot's Gadot's pay for Wonder Woman,
Absolutely.
which is kind of silly in my opinion because it's not really a big deal. Listen, she got paid $300,000, right? That was
She
the big
did.
news. So a lot of actors, including Chris Evans with the first Captain America movie, who made the exact same amount, have a clause in their contract that gives them a large amount of money after the movie finishes its theatrical run.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That nets them millions of dollars generally, and this is not going to be any different than that. We don't need to get enraged that Henry Cavill made $14 million because that was after the theatrical run happened for Man of Steel.
And
so
this is also not a new concept. The man who actually kind of made this idea famous was Jack Nicholson for the Joker in Batman. He asked for a very low salary for what he normally would have been paid for a percentage of the back end. And
he made a lot of money.
Ton of money.
He's probably still making money off of it.
Yeah, I mean,
probably.
There was at least one point where that became the highest grossing individual role of all time because of that. Yeah. I don't know if that's still true because Robert Downey Jr. is making $50 million a movie now. So, but yeah, I mean, you have to take the whole thing into context. And
there's a lot of people that have done that. Cameron Diaz created a deal where she took a very small cut up front to do a movie, and she ended up making millions off of it afterwards somehow. I don't remember which film it is. It was one of her smaller budget ones, during her indie phase, and she just got rich off of it pretty much because of the production. Like, she signed on to do so many different parts in the film that it all equaled out. So
it helps because then that person is not taking a huge chunk out of the production budget.
And this is also none of her money for merchandising for likeness rights on any of the dolls or toys or backpacks that she's on. So
I imagine WB owns the likeness rights, and so she probably doesn't get really much for that.
Not much, but I'm sure she gets something.
Yeah.
But
I'm sure that's all factored into whatever she gets off of the...
And let's not forget that this is not the age of single one-shot films. She knows that she's taking that $300,000 plus the back end, and she's going to be in Justice League, and will probably be getting a sequel, and
and a Justice League 2 probably at some point. Yeah.
She's going to show up a few more times. So it's the same deal with the MCU guys. It's the long play.
Yeah.
You know that you're in this for X number of years, and you're looking at that total.
Yep.
So
put down your pitchforks, get over it. She's going to make money. She's
going to make
a ton.
Money.
She's going to make. It's going to happen. So
Gal's not starving for anything right
No,
now.
and
she's doing great.
Given how well the movie's been received, Warner Brothers does not want her in a bad mood.
Keep in mind that before Wonder Woman came out and BVS, what movie was she most famous for?
Fast
a very
Furious.
small role in Fast and Furious. She wasn't Ben Affleck going into this. She was, and she was virtually a no-name actress.
And Robert Downey Jr. didn't make $50 million a movie in the first Iron Man.
No. Nope. Yeah, and he was an established actor, obviously.
That was also his comeback film.
Yeah.
And Jon Favreau has said that they worked for relative, of course, peanuts on the film because it was like the biggest budget indie film ever. That was Marvel Studios' first film, and they were writing the script as they were filming. So
they basically had to put their building up as collateral to make the film. So, there wasn't a lot of money there, right? So you have to start somewhere. And I think Gal understands that, or she wouldn't have signed on.
Absolutely.
So,
All right.
Anything else in the news?
I don't think so.
That's the big stuff.
Yeah.
Batman fans would be excited to know that Mask of the Phantasm is getting a full HD restoration for Blu-ray.
And I think this year was, 25 years since Batman Returns? Or this week was?
Yeah.
I think Thursday? I don't know. What is sometime in the last few days.
So that's pretty exciting, too.
Absolutely. Leave Carrie Fisher alone.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah,
please.
right. That was this week.
Not your problem.
I mean, if you're just now finding out that she had some personal issues with drugs and you didn't know her background that well anyway, so I'm not sure why you're enraged, but I mean, she was doing coke when she was filming Return of the Jedi. That was a long time ago. She's always struggled with that, and it's sad, but it's not angering.
At this point, we need to be more concerned with the sky's vendetta against Harrison Ford. That man's been through enough plane crashes. Let's focus on that.
Maybe he shouldn't be flying anymore. I'm just gonna throw that out there. But let's move on to our main topic.
Yay!
Let's do it.
Fantasy films.
Who wants to kick us off?
All right, so I'm gonna go with something that's relatively newer. It's smaller than all of this, and it did huge in Britain, but not so much here. And that is Stardust. Fantastic film.
It's a great movie.
Based on the Neil Gaiman book of the exact same name. This is one of the rare occasions where I believe the movie's better than the book, because Robert De Niro's part was only a page long, and his part is, in my opinion, completely integral to the story of the film. So I like that it got expanded. I like that he actually got a name in this.
It's a very fun part of the movie.
Absolutely.
It's a great
But,
part.
I mean, it has witches, it has a unicorn, it has a star falling from the sky and becoming a woman. Like, it's absolutely incredible. It's just a fun movie. I'm sad we never got a sequel, but at the same time, thankfully we didn't, because now Charlie Cox is our Daredevil.
I'm not sure it needed one.
I'm
it
not
has
sure
a nice,
it did either. There was no...
consolidated story.
It really kind of finished up the story at the end.
Right.
They just said what happened, and it was good.
I think it's very well made. Matthew Vaughn has gone on to do quite a lot of cool things like Kingsman, and this opened the door for it. I would put it in my top 20 for sure, which is why I'm mentioning it first, because I feel like it's on the lower end of that, but it's incredibly well made and fun to watch. So
That did not make my list, but it's a very good movie.
Good choice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Robert, how about you?
Well, I do like Stardust, and I did consider putting that on my list, but I'm gonna go with Willow for my first movie.
I'm really glad somebody
Totally
did.
forgot about it.
What is wrong
I
with
know.
you?
I haven't seen it since I was a kid.
Why are you
I
dating
just,
this guy?
I just forgot. I forgot.
It's a childhood favorite. I grew
Absolutely.
up loving the movie. It's got magic and adventure and armies. It's great. It was one of the earliest movies that got me into fantasy.
I agree.
And I haven't thought about Willow in years.
Young Val
actually.
Kilmer.
Yeah, it was definitely young Val Kilmer. That's for sure.
Yeah,
I would
right.
actually watch a sequel to that now, because I still want to see Warwick Davis be like an adopted dad, because that was a fun part.
Well, I
like,
mean, he did great in that movie. And,
Absolutely.
I mean, there's not a lot of roles for people of his stature
Absolutely.
in movies, and I thought he did really well considering the circumstance and everything else. And Val Kilmer was great, obviously. Mad Mardigan, I think, is who he played in that movie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. He was charming in a really terrible way, and just
Right.
he had the Val Kilmer thing going, and yeah, I mean, everything about that movie worked. It's definitely, it's not my top 5, but it's a good, solid movie, very enjoyable.
it's not often that the handsome lead actor isn't the lead; he's a sidekick.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you had the handsome guy as a sidekick, and you had a little guy as the main character. So
Right.
I mean, it kind of like in Lord of the Rings, where you've got hobbits, as lead characters in parts. Now you've got a little guy who is just learning how to use magic.
It might be. No, it's probably my second favorite Val Kilmer role.
The Saint, number one. The Saint.
The Doors.
Oh.
The Doors.
Real genius.
Real genius, yeah.
Yeah,
sorry.
that was a great one. I love that.
I very much love that movie.
Fair enough.
But we're not talking about Real
Yeah.
Genius.
No, we're
This is not
not.
the Val Kilmer episode.
no.
Well,
That's coming up, though.
episode
sure.
100. No, I'm totally kidding. That's not happening. Not episode
Ryan.
100.
Never say never.
What you got
Oh,
for
what?
us?
Well,
There you
my-
go.
Yeah, you're up.
So I want to preface this by saying I left off a bunch of my big movies that I love that we've talked about on the show before. I'll throw those in if you guys pull out movies that are in my current top 5.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to put my number 5 as Army of Darkness. You wouldn't think
Alright.
about it going in that it's a fantasy
No, it
movie,
totally
but
is.
it fits all the criteria. It's not my favorite of the Evil Dead franchise, but it is really hilarious.
it
and
is
it's
the
a
only
lot of
one that's
people's
like
favorites.
fantasy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, because it's got the time travel and
You get Bruce Campbell at his peak after everybody's already like,
Oh, yeah.
we love it. We love this guy,
Right.
and he's, charming and ridiculous in every way. And
I love Army of Darkness.
Yeah,
it's my
great.
second favorite movie of the franchise, behind Evil Dead 2.
that's my
So,
same ranking. So.
Yeah, but it's so much fun. And I mean, the stop motion when he's fighting Evil Ash, but he's just like the skeleton at the end, and it's wonderful.
So it is part of a franchise.
I mean, technically. Well, we're allowed to talk about it.
Yeah,
We're-
but it's
we're-
really the
We're not
only-
allowed to... Yeah.
I know it's
I will
way
say-
different than the other two.
That's the thing. It's the only one of the franchise that really fits into fantasy.
And we never
Right.
said no
Valid.
franchises.
No,
so-
I've
No, we
got
didn't.
I've got
we just said
franchises.
to lump them together.
But it is a kind of a unique situation because it's the only franchise I can think of where the movie styles are different within it, so it doesn't.
Directed by the same guy.
Do you
Right, yeah.
feel like the late 80s and early 90s, they took more visual chances
Sam
cinematically?
Raimi always took.
Sam Raimi did for sure.
You can make that argument.
Those kind of movies, like we just talked about how unique Willow was, and that Val Kilmer wasn't the main character, and his character easily could have been, and nowadays probably would.
I think it's because back then the most important thing for making a movie wasn't to get a sequel greenlit immediately.
Yeah, it wasn't to get a whole universe started.
Yeah, that wasn't the goal. Like if you don't get today, if your sequel isn't greenlit in the first like 2 weeks, people are like wondering what's going on, right?
Yeah,
and back then that was never really the case. Now obviously Evil Dead has a lot of sequels and spin-off type things, so but that took a lot of time and a lot of their Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell's own personal money and resources to do it. Willow, I don't think anybody ever made Willow with the intention of building more. So you can take those chances because if they're not well received, you did what you sought out to do.
Absolutely.
Versus playing it safe because you want to get the sequel. So.
Fair enough. Go ahead.
Okay, so for me then, in that case, I'm going to get one of my personal favorites out of the way, and that is The Never-Ending Story.
Yes.
Love it.
I'm mainly talking about the first one. I know that there are 2 more, and I know that Jack Black is in the 3rd one. Was there a 4th one?
Yeah, I never saw it.
I didn't know there was a 4th one. Jack Black's in the 3rd one.
The kid from Free Willy played Bastion in the 2nd, and that's the only reason why I watched it, because he was in Free Willy.
I watched it because I loved the first one. I'm like, well, this is great. There's another one. And immediately regretted my decision.
The second one wasn't totally atrocious,
right?
But the third one, the third one was bad.
Yeah. I love The Never-Ending Story. I love everything about it. I love the set design. I love the characters, the giant rock guy, the rock eater, and... Rock biter, thank you. Yeah. And, it's just, it's a very emotional movie.
The Swamp of Sadness.
Yeah, that was that scene ruined kids' childhood.
That was
a horse.
Oh, no, I hate
but then you got the
about
turtle. That was awesome, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it wasn't...
Turtle's a jerk.
I'm talking design-wise as a kid. I was like, this is a really cool
visually.
I agree.
Yeah.
Another visually chancing movie at times.
Crazy. I mean, the risks that they took, the fact that the antagonist is literally nothing.
Yeah.
The absence of existing is the main antagonist is really cool.
A little deep for kids. I didn't really pick that up as a kid. I thought it was like a physical thing.
I mean, I don't really remember when. I've watched that movie as long as I can remember, so I don't know at what point I understood it. I've been watching. I mean, we went to go see it when they showed it in theaters recently.
That was so cool.
Which was great. To see that on the big screen for the first time as an adult was really exciting.
Awesome.
Times like that where I just want to rent out a movie theater for just myself because I feel like other people always ruin the movie for
Absolutely.
me.
Well,
on vintage classic movies like that,
It was at an
Absolutely.
AMC, so everyone was very quiet, and there wasn't like any quote along stuff or
They
anything
did
like
not
that.
preface that there was going to be a documentary about the making of beforehand, and people did get a little restless.
Well, because
But-
I think I got nervous because I thought, was it not the movie that we were seeing? We were just seeing a documentary about the movie, which I'm not sure would have been a bad thing, but I was ready to watch the movie.
Right. Absolutely. But along with the Swamp of Sadness, a part that got me as an adult was when, the childlike Empress looks right at the camera and she's talking to Bastion, but it feels like she's talking to you about saving them, and it's like she is just in your soul. That little girl is such a great actress.
Yeah, she did a fantastic job. It's a beautiful
All three
movie.
of the kids did. They really did.
Yeah.
They were great.
Very different people, very different characters, but even
Falcor, come on.
well,
Oh, man.
who didn't want a luck dragon?
One of the greatest dragons in fantasy movies.
And one of the
I'm
greatest
sorry.
names. I mean, there's
Right.
a million
Falcor.
dogs out there named Falcor because of that movie.
Absolutely.
The end where he comes back with Falcor to chase the bullies down the street
So
is
good.
like,
That was awesome.
I mean, for anybody who'd ever been bullied, I'm sure that's and you've always wanted to do that,
Well, for me, Falcor is something that I want to see realized. Like, we go to conventions all the time, and there's AT-ATs, and there's Jabbas, and there's Toothless. I don't care. I want a Falcor.
There was a guy that
Somebody
did it.
build a
Or,
Falcor.
I don't remember his name off the top of my head. I'm pretty sure his first name was Ryan, and it's a cosplay page Ryan something cosplay. But yeah, he did a Skeksis. He did a
Ooh, that'd be cool to
he did a
see.
Falcor. He's done a lot of cool
That's
See,
fantasy.
really
I
cool.
actually know somebody who has talked about building a Falcor. He just doesn't have space to store.
That's fair. They're huge.
I mean, it would be huge.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you
absolutely.
wanted to do it on a small scale, it'd still have to be 6 to 8 feet on the small end.
Oh yeah.
You know, so...
I mean,
but-
even like Toothless that we see
Yeah.
go around. That's a lot of storage space. For
Absolutely.
That guy.
That's
Yeah.
yeah. I don't even think that would fit in my garage.
No.
You know. But yeah, so the Never Ending Story, the first one, I love
love
it.
it.
It's one of my favorite movies ever. So Ray?
Hey, it's my turn.
Yeah, you're up.
Right.
All right, so this is a movie that I've come to appreciate the older I got. I thought it was a little boring as a kid, but the more I watch it as an adult, the more I love it. And that's Mary Poppins.
Yeah.
I kept a lot of Disney movies off of my list because it's really easy when you go to fantasy to just tap Disney. They're the fantasy king, I guess you could call it. But Mary Poppins is so unique. And I feel like that's just because of the charm of Julie Andrews. And it's not just constant in-your-face fantasy. It's wonderful scene after scene after line after line. Like, she just delivers and makes it beautiful and fun and energetic. And I wish there had been an adult in my life when I was a kid that just randomly burst into song and made things less British and dismal. Like,
Fair enough. I mean, it's a very good movie. Technically, it was really difficult to pull off at the
absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Still kind of impressive given their constraints. I mean, they're remaking it now, of course.
Right.
Yeah. Well, is it a remake? I thought
No, it's a sequel.
It's a sequel.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Because guess who was coming back to be in the movie? Dick Van Dyke.
Okay.
Mary
I didn't
Poppins,
realize.
she has an age, but
Yeah.
you know he does.
Well, that's cool.
And he was actually one of my favorite character in the movie.
I always loved him in
Bert was
pretty much
fun.
anything I saw him in. So, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mary Poppins.
no, that's a good one.
Yep, love
I
it.
didn't really think about the Disney movies. I don't think anything on my list is from Disney actually.
Wow.
I actually
like direct
that
Disney.
that was actually I've got a lot of alternates, so that was one of my alternates.
Oh,
good.
cool.
So
Okay. Well, what's next on your list then, Robert?
what's next on my list? Let's see. I think I'm gonna go off the wall, you know, a little bit more off the wall, kind of like Mary Poppins, and I'm gonna go with an old childhood favorite, Harvey. Now, if you've never seen it,
I've never seen Harvey.
it's a Jimmy Stewart movie,
Okay.
and his best friend is a puka,
Oh, that's adorable.
who is a giant rabbit that only he can see until the very end.
I remember seeing
It's
the
like Donnie Darko, that makes
I remember seeing the box for the movie at
Mm-hmm.
Blockbuster every time we'd go in there, and I was always curious what it was as a kid, and just never rented it.
It's a feel-good movie because Jimmy Stewart just plays this happy-go-lucky guy. He just loves meeting people and making friends, but everybody thinks he's insane because he has this giant friend that nobody can see throughout the entire movie, and they try to admit him and to psycho ward, and he's just like, oh well, it's nice to meet you, and he's just friendly with the doctors, and they're all treating him like a psycho. But it's a good movie. If you've never seen it, then it's an old black and white movie. But Jimmy Stewart, one of the great actors
Absolutely.
in cinema history. So
And that plotline has been borrowed multiple times since then. I mean, heck,
it
even
has.
Sesame Street did it. Snuffleupagus was Big Bird's imaginary friend for like 10 years.
now,
Just saying.
and they do kind of explain it in the movie, but if you don't know what a puka is, it's a being from Celtic mythology.
Oh, cool.
And they're very mischievous. So
Right?
All right, Ryan.
I too am going with something that's not a traditional fantasy movie, but I think still qualifies. Edward Scissorhands.
Oh,
That was on my
I thought
list.
about
yeah, that definitely qualifies.
That was an
Absolutely.
alternate.
So I mean, it's Tim Burton for me at his best. It's everything visual in it is telling a story, even if it's just a background shot or the way a house is designed. Vincent Price was amazing.
Right.
That was really good for me as a kid because my dad's favorite actor in his whole life was Vincent Price, and he was kind of on the edge of his career when I was a kid. So I think that was his last role. Maybe there was one movie after that,
It
but
was definitely towards the end.
he was the perfect actor for that role. And I mean, he started off the movie in a wonderful way, and seeing that machine that like stamps out the pieces, and it was just so fantastical. And the story is just beautiful. Everything about the movie is beautiful. I could watch it every day for the rest of my life and not be sad. I mean, it's a great movie.
They actually adapted it into a ballet, and
I didn't know that.
I don't know how long it ran. I don't know if it's still running. But as soon as I saw that, I was like, I bet that snow scene is beautiful on stage. And I want to see it because of that scene. That scene is one of the most beautifully filmed scenes I think I've ever seen, at least in one of my top 10 favorite scenes. It's gorgeous.
It's definitely Tim Burton that's his heyday.
It's
It was his peak for me, but
it's Johnny.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because between Edward Scissorhands and Batman, and I mean,
Beetlejuice, right around there was good. Tim Burton. Tim Burton does best when it's out of his own head and not an adaptation, in my opinion.
I would agree with you 100% on that, actually. I mean, he can do good work, but
Batman.
I still think
Batman
his
was
two
good.
Batman movies are amazing. Yeah.
All
Probably my
right, I
favorite
was
live
more
action
going
Batman. But no,
with
so
far.
Alice in Wonderland
Yeah.
and Dark Shadows and
Yeah.
I think it's
Charlie
just
and the
more
Chocolate
recently.
Factory look like cash grabs to me.
I think he's kind of stuck in that. I think back when he did the Batman movies and Edward Scissorhands and Beetlejuice, that was when he had all of his ideas and he put all of his energy into them and they came out wonderful.
Yeah.
And now he's he has that style. You can pick it out. You can see a movie and know it's a Tim Burton movie.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know? And I think he just kind of sticks with that. So
No, that was on my list too. I love that film.
I'm glad I stole it from you.
well, so in that vein, the next one on my list is Beetlejuice.
Oh,
I thought that went a little too horror for me to be considered.
It's still fantasy
I
though.
left it off my list.
yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't classify it as true horror.
I think it's as much fantasy as Army of Darkness is.
Yeah.
I mean, Army of Darkness got knights in shining armor and skeletons and swords and time travel and I'm just saying, I think Beetlejuice might not be as much fantasy as Army of
I guess
Darkness.
Beetlejuice never scared me, so I never really thought of it as horror.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's more like horror comedy, I guess.
Yeah.
But I mean, if there's fantasy elements, sure. So we'll let it pass.
We'll let it pass. Well, thank you for letting it pass. Right.
Okay, Ryan
It's one of my
will let it
favorite
pass.
movies. So.
So Beetlejuice, for a lot of the same reasons we were saying for Edward Scissorhands, it's just a really uniquely visual movie. Michael Keaton, that's honestly my favorite Michael Keaton role. I know he was
It's
an amazing
incredible.
Batman, but if I only got one of them, I'd pick his Beetlejuice.
And it's one of those things where he's the titular character. You remember his performance the best out of everybody's, even though everyone around him is solid acting.
Oh, yeah.
But he's only on screen for a total of 13 minutes.
But it's iconic.
Exactly.
But it's a lot of fun, when the stretching their faces and the giant
So good.
sandworm and
So
just
good.
it's so outlandish and
And a really fun spin-off cartoon came of it.
I did love the
It
cartoon.
was a fun
loved-
cartoon.
Yeah.
I remember that.
I did
loved
love the
it.
cartoon. And all the Burger King toys. Ryan's rolling his
Every
eyes.
cartoon had Burger King toys around that time. So
All
Fair
right,
enough.
so we're back around to you, Ray.
All right, so it's Tim Burton adjacent Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Okay,
that was an alternative.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh my God, how can you not love this movie? It's got comedy and horror, and Gene Wilder is absolutely brilliant from top to bottom, start to finish, and the fantasy is the colors appear fantastical and the actions that everybody's taking appear fantastical, but deep down it's a kind of a scary film, a lot of creepy undertones and
well, the book was that way too, even more
Absolutely.
so. But yeah, it definitely came through. And
after
That tunnel ride that they
Tunnel
do.
ride.
absolutely. But I guess after Roald Dahl passed away, his kids found more chapters that he had cut out of the book because his publisher said they were too scary. It was child number 6 and 7 who died. He just flat out said that they had been killed in their accidents, and so we never got to meet child 6 and 7 in this adventure, but he had some darker plans.
I assumed other than Charlie, all the other kids died.
I did too, until Charlie and the Chocolate Factory came out and they showed
Right.
them all warped and distorted.
Which was kind of funny, actually.
Absolutely.
I'm not a huge fan of the remake.
You don't have to be.
And I'm not even sure that it's that what the problem is specifically. I think maybe it was too weird.
No.
I think it was Johnny Depp.
You think it was Johnny Depp? I don't know. It's hard to say.
I think they made it too
Tim
soft.
Burton-y?
No, they made it. It was too soft. The horror overtones, the scary reasons. Like, I want to hug Willy Wonka, but I also want to stay as far away from him as possible.
But I think Gene Wilder captured that more than
Absolutely.
Johnny Depp did. Like Johnny
Absolutely.
Depp, he seemed like he was trying too hard to be weird and like creepy, whereas Gene Wilder didn't really have to try. It was like he just naturally exuded this in that character. So,
and also it was a fun musical. Like, musical is not the first thing I think of when I think of that movie.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
But it had some wonderful songs in it,
really
and
did.
they stick in your head. I'm still waiting for a death metal version of I Want It Now. I feel like...
It might be out there.
No,
Yeah, and
Veruca
as a
Salt was in
kid-
a rock band, wasn't she? So.
No, Veruca Salt is a rock band.
Well, the lead singer
Oh, was
was
she?
Veruca Salt from the movie, I'm pretty sure.
We'll look that up here later.
And
Yeah. Fact check real quick.
You can always
As a kid-
listen to First Jason, the kid who plays the Jason who jumps out of the lake at the end of the first Friday the 13th had a band called First Jason.
That's funny.
There you go. Nice.
Sorry, Robert.
But no, it's okay. But I'm sorry. And also, as a kid, who didn't want to go walking around in that Candyland?
So
Absolutely.
cool.
Right?
I wanted to eat like half of it.
Yeah,
Exactly.
That would have been pretty neat.
And you would have been child number 6.
They all got
Definitely
to
my
eat something.
second favorite Gene Wilder role is Willy Wonka. So
That's pretty up there. I don't know. He's
His
done a lot of good
first
movies.
one's,
Blazing
Young
Saddles.
Frankenstein.
Young Frankenstein.
Is it really?
Yeah, I
Oh, yeah, I
love
love
Blazing
Young
Saddles.
Frankenstein.
Blazing Saddles is an amazing movie.
I didn't guess that you would have
But-
loved it that much. But
It doesn't showcase him as much in Blazing Saddles because he's really the sidekick.
When you're,
You know.
when you're going to-
I mean,
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
fair
won't
enough.
sing
look,
anymore.
if you're out there listening and you don't like Young Frankenstein, we have to have a long
Please stop
talk.
listening to our
We,
podcast.
we
don't
don't.
want
We're
you
just
to-
not friends. We're going to cut you off.
So real quick in chat, Jordan is saying the Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus,
Okay.
which is a really crazy movie.
It's a really
It is.
overhyped
That's-
movie since Heath Ledger died halfway through it or whatever, and they had to replace him. I don't think it was that good.
Their
As much as I like
resolution
Terry
was
Gilliam.
very unique, though. I do appreciate what
Terry
they did.
Gilliam
for me.
is one of the most creative directors out there. I'm excited for his upcoming film, but Time Bandits is 10 times better.
Okay. Well, for those who don't
Agreed.
know, because Heath Ledger died during filming, what they basically did was they replaced him with like 2 or 3 other actors. 3,
Jude
right?
Law, Johnny Depp, and Colin Farrell, and they all portrayed him in a different, like, world-esque kind of place. It was a unique solution to a very serious and tragic problem.
Interesting.
All right, Robert, what's next on your list?
Next on my list, I am going to go with another childhood favorite, Krull.
Oh man,
Okay.
Crawl.
I've never seen it.
I mean, it's another kind of cheesy 80s fantasy
Absolutely.
sci-fi movie. It's awesome. It's got aliens, it's got knights, it's got one man on an adventure banding together rogue elements in the world so they can save the kingdom and his true love. It's a fantasy movie, just a slightly different twist.
That's fair. We've had a few with twists.
So yeah,
It works.
Yeah, that's just one I've never seen, unfortunately. So
I enjoy it. I mean, you've got flying horses, cyclops,
that's cool.
magicians, aliens. I mean, it's crazy.
Fair enough. I might want to watch that then. So.
Sure.
I highly recommend it. And it's older, so it's got some really good visuals for the time.
Yeah.
It's pretty well done. Can be argued some overacting, but that was for the time.
Right. Yeah.
That's
I like
just the
those older
80s.
movies. I mean, while I appreciate technically what we can accomplish today, yeah, if you could do it in the 70s or the 80s, it's even that much more impressive. So,
Absolutely.
Ryan.
I'm going to go back to more pure fantasy. I'm going to go to possibly the most pure fantasy movie that any of us would have on our list, and that is The Princess Bride.
Yes.
When you
Yes.
think of fantasy, for me, I mean, it has it ticks
Yeah,
nearly
right.
every box for me. It's a fairy tale being told to a child. I mean, it's just everything about it is wonderful. All the acting is great. One of those lightning in a bottle movies where everything worked, and and it's still relevant today. The messages that it has and everything about it is.
And Princess Buttercup ends up leading an army of Amazons.
Yeah. That's true.
I like to think they're in the same universe.
I'm cool with that.
Right after Dread Pirate Roberts is killed, yes, she goes to the island.
One of the most quotable movies, I think,
yeah.
For the general public. And
Inconceivable.
Which says something, though. When pretty much anybody you bump into can quote something from that movie that says something about it. It's really wonderful across the board. The cast, I think, is what sells it.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
You know, just a wonderful cast.
And we're all just a little, like, too young. We missed it in theaters.
Yep.
So probably, like, I don't know about you guys, but my first viewing was catching it on, like, a Saturday morning on TBS. And I just remember, like, the entire time laughing and enjoying every bit of it. And
I was in
stuck with
college
me.
the first time I saw it.
Get out of here. You're fired.
Whoa. Seriously.
Wow.
Fired.
First time.
I think
And
we could fire him. He kind of runs the whole thing.
it,
We can replace him with Robert.
but here's the thing, though. This
good
is how
for
you
that.
know
Yeah,
that
let's
it's
do it.
not nostalgia glasses, though. I didn't see it until I was like 19 or 20,
That's
and it's
fair.
still.
Well, I know it's not nostalgia glasses because it's an amazing movie.
But that's
like,
but
no matter what.
It's nice to have kind of that.
Verification, whatever.
Well, we
Andre
ha-
the Giant, come on.
Has Rob Reiner done anything as magical, like, or as wonderful? I can't think so. I mean, you can't really put this up against When Harry Met Sally. Like, who cares?
You can.
To blame.
Very.
No, my point is just that I saw it as an adult, well after it had come out, and it was
And you were still charmed.
wonderful. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's still an
Absolutely.
absolutely wonderful movie that I still watch all the time and have owned several different copies of. So, you know, even picked up the book, though I actually prefer the movies. All right, so I guess I'm up next.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think, you know, I'm going to go with one that I still think is pure fantasy for Ryan's sake, and that is The Dark Crystal.
Thank goodness somebody
Yeah.
said it. I was getting nervous.
I was
Nobody
waiting.
wasn't.
I was
Somebody
waiting
was
for
gonna say
somebody
it.
to say it.
Well,
That's why I haven't yet.
Yeah, it's a creepy freaking movie.
It really is.
Absolutely.
Especially for young kids. I mean, I was watching that movie at like the age of 3 and 4, and it's a creepy freaking movie.
It really is.
But again, kind of like the Neverending Story, it's very unique from a visual perspective. It's very beautiful. It's a Henson
What
production.
happens when you give Jim Henson creative freedom and let him create a world
Absolutely.
and everything else? Yeah.
Because first you're going to get the quality of a Henson movie, which I think is incredibly important aside from the style itself. And then, yeah, he got to, or they, or, you know, him personally at the time, got to design some pretty amazing creatures and concepts. I mean,
And
we've
it was a
got...
fleshed out world.
Yeah.
That's the
Absolutely.
crazy
Yes.
thing that a lot of things are missing nowadays. You know, when you think fantasy, you want to see a fleshed out world where you want to know the story of that creature over there that's on screen.
Absolutely.
You know, Fizzgig. Do I want to know Fizzgig? Yeah, of course we want to know. I would watch a whole movie about Fizzgig. Give it to Pixar, and I'll watch that. Like, you know, even if it's not Henson Company doing it, like, there's every character in that movie has a story that
And a
Jim
lot of
Henson
it
probably
has
knew,
been
but nobody else did.
Fleshed out a bit. Like, there's been Dark Crystal comic books and Dark Crystal
Yes.
children's books. So
Mostly focused on the Skeksis for
that-
whatever
which
reason.
is so
but-
crazy.
I think that was easy because there were a lot of them, you know, and it was easy.
And the fact that
I mean, compared to everything else
they were
in the
based off
movie.
of the Seven Deadly
there's a lot of
Sins
Gotham.
made them a really good villain too. You know.
Yeah.
I kind of want to know more about what the Mystics were doing. You don't see them doing much at all.
Yeah.
Now we are lucky. We are getting a prequel series on
Can't wait.
Netflix that the Henson Company is involved in.
I'm excited to see more than 2 Gelflings. You know?
Yeah, definitely.
I'm not. I think the Gelflings were the worst part of the movie.
You would say that.
Give
You're
me an
boy,
Agra
you
origin
don't have
story. That's what I
wings.
want.
But that's the thing, that you wouldn't even have seen Agra if it weren't for them.
Well, that's
So-
fine. I don't want another Gelfling. They got their
Gotcha,
story. Give me an
gotcha.
Agra story. Okay. Agra was the best character in that movie for me.
You
I
want
loved her.
to find out how she lost her eye?
Why does she have nipples? This is a puppet. She doesn't need nipples. That was horrifying as a child, but as an adult, I appreciate the attention to detail.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So everyone now knows what interests Ryan.
I mean, it doesn't
Muppet
really
nipples.
interest me, but
So are
actually,
you-
the Skeksis have like 8 nipples, even though they're portrayed as birds,
true.
Yeah.
which wouldn't have nipples. Yeah, like they have a whole undercarriage. You have
So-
to buy the action figure to really know that.
Now that you're an adult, how
That's
do you
creepy.
feel about, you know, the mainline Muppets not having nipples?
You know, I'm okay with not knowing whether they have nipples or not, because a lot of them you don't really like. A lot of them have some sort of something.
I mean,
there.
Kermit's
Fun.
totally naked.
Kermit's totally naked. Yeah,
90%
frogs
of
don't
the
have
time.
nipples, so I think it's okay.
Neither do birds, but
They don't. But they don't exist in the same universe.
It's
They're
all-
not birds in Dark
it's all
Crystal
Hensons,
universe. They just
so-
look like birds.
Fun fact, in Muppets Wizard of Oz, when nobody was watching, they gave Gonzo Tin Man nipples, and they said it out loud. Kermit was asking what all the doodads on him do, and he touches one, and Gonzo's like, "That's just my nipple." And I was in college at the time, and I was like, "What?"
well, I've never seen that, so that's going on the list right now.
Now we know what Derek's interests are.
'Cause that's ridiculous.
Gonzo nipples.
Gonzo nipples. All right.
Gonzo was always my favorite of the Muppets.
Did you see Muppets from Space? Because
So-
it's
Oh.
so good.
That's up there
Yeah.
with my favorite
So
Muppet
good.
movies.
I love
So
the
good.
Muppets.
Jordan from chat said that Jumanji should be on our list, and
I mean, it's a fantasy movie, but it wouldn't be in my top.
I really
Yeah.
love Jumanji. I feel
a good
like
movie.
their CGI and practical effects weren't quite up there, but the 4 actors did phenomenal, and I'm really scared that this like remake or reboot,
It's a sequel.
it's going to have the CGI that these guys didn't, but
Yeah.
there's no way it can have the same heart. I don't
Before
care.
Baywatch, I would have said The Rock will get people in seats, but
Well,
apparently that's not a guarantee anymore.
I mean, here's the thing.
I really feel like it's Zac Efron and Taints though that did
Could
that
be.
one in. Go ahead.
It's probably Zac Efron. Like, I love The Rock, but having it be that buddy movie with Zac, I just am not that interested. But anyway, I think that whenever you want to do a sequel or a remake of a movie where Robin Williams was the lead or a prominent role, you're going to have a hard time.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's going to miss that because this is going to it's going to be an action movie. That's what it's going to be. It's going to be an action adventure movie that of course is set in this fantasy
Right.
context. But that's not what the original one was. The original one was regular people who were put in a ridiculous situation and you were given one of the best actors of our lifetimes.
I mean, the same gentleman also wrote the book Zathura, and when they made that film, they cast Josh Hutcherson when he was like 10, Kristen Stewart, and Dax Shepard. And, you know, at the time, they were all bigger stars. They all had some weight to those little names, and it didn't come close to having the same amount of effect or love that went into Jumanji. So Jumanji is a fantastic film, and I don't think they're going to do it justice.
Yeah. But I love the original. It was a fun movie.
It's a good movie.
I always wanted like a really solid quality version of that game, which they
With
never
the magnet
never made.
magnetized.
No, it's been made, just not officially. But I know I've seen them for sale, and if I knew you'd wanted one, I would have kept my eyes open more for you.
Well, now you can.
Now
so,
I can, but you won't be able to buy it, so...
Yeah, we'll see.
It's
Anyway,
funny how money just magically shows up when something like that is.
well, I got a new job. So, all right. So Ray, your number 4 pick.
Oh my gosh.
We're at number 4.
All right. So
Just hit one of the big ones. We're going to have to do them
let's
anyway.
talk about Harry Potter then. I think
Okay.
Harry Potter is one of those things where the world is more important than the individual stories.
Agreed.
I feel like each movie let down the books. The books were 10 times better than the films. But as a whole, Harry Potter films are incredibly fun. They have a real sense of tragedy and loss to them, and yet still keep this bright little gleaming bit of hope. And Fantastic Beasts has continued that. So it works better all together. I
Yeah.
feel like all of them should be watched together if you can, or at least in a couple different viewings.
Marathon it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not as good separated out, but together it did so much for pop culture.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I think that 4, 5, and 6 are probably the best movies of the 8. I think that they weren't quite sure how to live up to the hype of the final book.
I disagree with you on
But-
4, but 5 and 6 are
I
definitely
like the Goblet
pretty
of
good.
Fire. I think the Goblet of Fire was the first of the Harry Potter movies that really pulled it off.
I think The Goblet of Fire, the book, was the largest book.
Sure.
And should have been split into 2 movies. And
Not
had
disagreeing.
enough content
Yeah,
You could have stopped the first one at the Yule Ball. You could have added in all the stuff with the house elves and made their story more important. There's a lot that was left out. So.
I'm not disagreeing with that. I think that none of the movies live up to any of the books.
Right.
So I'm certainly not saying. I've read each book at least 3 times. I love the franchise. So the movies have some really awesome stuff. Visually, they're really stunning. I think the casting is really spot on.
Absolutely.
You know, there are some actors in those roles that now, when I'm reading the book, that's just who I see.
Oh, yeah.
Alan Rickman.
Yeah, of course. Of course, Alan Rickman.
Even the woman who played Dolores Umbridge, her face, she's right there.
I still get angry reading or watching that one.
Seeing her makes me angry. Yeah.
But
you
liked hating her,
right? Yeah. Well, that actress was also in Maleficent as one of the fairies, and I was like, she ain't good.
But I mean, you have to keep in mind that, like, if you put the books aside for a minute, which is hard to do, the 8 Harry Potter movies grossed well over $2 billion.
And now we have 2 theme parks.
2 theme parks. They're making
which
a whole other trilogy.
Awesome, I might say. Personal experience going there.
Yeah, you were just there, weren't you?
And I say worth going, and definitely do the park jumper so you can do them both in one day. Then you get to ride the train.
Ooh,
sweet.
There you go.
It's both parks are stellar.
How's the butter beer?
Reminds me of cream soda.
Awesome. That's exactly what I wanted to hear.
And they do have actual signature beers there too. Real beer.
Sweet.
So like a dragon scale ale and a wizard's.
That's cute.
That's adorable.
They're both like there's a Scottish ale and a stout there.
Why do you look so unhappy, Ryan?
I mean, the movies were fun. I don't really get the obsession, but you know.
Is it because you're a muggle?
I think we're all muggles because magic doesn't exist.
Oh, it's so sad that you think that.
Okay.
All right.
It's fine,
He's supposed to think
Let's move on.
All right.
Yeah.
So, Robert.
Me. Okay. So my 4th pick, because I'm still hoping I still was banking on some people picking other stuff. I'm going to go with Inkheart.
We're starting to run out now, so it might be time to stay to those
Inkheart
things that
was
you
so
banked
much
on.
fun.
Yes.
I have no idea what that is.
Inkheart. It's a Brendan Fraser movie.
Fraser.
There is no I, so it's not Fraser.
What?
Fraser.
Stop it.
Fraser?
So, and it's basically it's this book. It's called Inkheart in the movie, and characters from it are come out into the real world. They're brought out, and it's interfering with things, and his family has to.
It's really cute.
That sounds like a fun
movie.
concept. I don't know how I
would've.
missed that.
Because it came out when Brendan Fraser's career was on the downside, you know.
Like when he did the Looney Tunes movie?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
it was
so
right around
after Bedazzled.
The Dazzled is awesome. I will
Don't
fight
knock the
you.
Bedazzled. I actually like that movie too.
What, what's the one where he's been locked in the bomb shelter all those years?
Encino Man.
No.
Blast
from
no.
the Past.
Blast from the Past.
Awesome
I
movie
love
as well.
Blast from the Past.
See, I enjoy pretty much all of Brendan Fraser's movie, and this was one of them. Inkheart. It's actually a good movie. It's a little lesser known to a lot of people, so I'm not surprised you haven't seen it. And I just really enjoy it.
It's a fun concept, and I do actually like his stuff. I never saw the Looney Tunes movie, but I liked everything else that I saw of his.
I enjoyed the Looney Tunes movie that he was in.
You're one of 3 people, so.
I mean,
It didn't capture the same fun that Space Jam did, even though Brendan
it wasn't
Fraser's a
Space
much
Jam.
better actor than
And I
Michael
think that's
Jordan.
why it worked, though, because Jordan was just really awkward the entire
He was
time.
so bad.
so no, it wasn't Space Jam, but I still found it enjoyable.
Right.
So,
I get it.
but yeah. So
He was also really good on Scrubs.
We know
His 2
that.
episodes.
Yeah.
Go
he's
ahead.
good on everything he does.
Ryan.
Okay, so one on my list was Dark Crystal, so I'm going to go ahead and
Do it.
cut it off, and I'm going to go to another one.
Do
I
it. Do it.
told other hosts before this that I didn't have any comic book movies on my list, but this one isn't actually a comic book movie, so I think it'll work. Mystery Men.
Oh my gosh, you dork.
I guess I
It's
didn't
not.
think
It's
about
a
this in
superhero
fantasy,
movie.
yeah.
It's a hero movie.
Yeah.
But it's not a comic book movie.
That's right.
Man.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
I mean,
I guess it's a fantasy movie.
I mean,
yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it hits all the marks for a fantasy movie. Technically, I mean, it's a very like fantasy world, you know,
totally
and
is.
But do any-
fantasy heroes and fantasy like all people are
So
trying to
many-
live their fantasy by being heroes when
Yeah.
they're really just normal dudes.
But let's say,
it's-
like, none of them really have powers,
Nope.
right?
No, some of them do.
Greg Kinnear does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, you can fly. And
Oh, yeah,
then,
right.
The boy
the guy
goes-
that cuts guns with his mind or whatever, right?
he can
Yeah.
do that.
It's been a long time since
and
I've
the guy
seen
that can
it, right?
fart.
Yeah.
That is-
Come on. The bowling ball.
Yeah.
It can move on its own.
Right? That was a possessed bowling ball. Yeah, the
Right.
bowler.
Yeah, the
Janine
bowler.
Garofalo.
Yeah. I really loved William H.
And the
Macy's
waffler.
role.
You had Dane Cook in there.
Oh my God, yeah.
It's the only role that I could stand him in.
Oh, and
For like 2 seconds.
Eddie Izzard. It's got Eddie Izzard.
Oh,
Yes.
The villains in that movie
The
were really
So
good.
good.
so
Jeffrey
good.
Rush.
I loved the theme. Like you wouldn't think about this, but then you have Frankenstein. What's his name? It's not Disco Frankenstein. Gosh, I can't even remember.
Casanova
Frankenstein.
Frankenstein,
Yeah. What a
so
cool, and they're
good.
all like disco themed.
And he had the...
Yeah, the whole weapon was like his pinky claw.
So-
It's so good, and come on, Invisible Boy. You can
So great.
you only can't see him when you're not looking at him. Like
Yeah.
And he has to get completely naked.
It's a fun movie. I never thought of it as being fantasy, but you're right. I mean, that's a fun movie.
yeah. I always wanted
very
to do a Captain
underrated.
Amazing or a Mr. Furious costume.
What girl saw that and didn't want to be the bowler? I want to throw a skull bowling ball at people.
That's a really
At
cool
bars.
prop.
You know how many
yeah,
times
it is.
my first real legal job was at a bowling alley, and they had.
Before that, he was a prostitute.
I did some hourly stuff under the
Yeah,
table.
we know, prostitute. Yeah,
Whoa.
we get it.
Not as a prostitute. Anyway,
Allegedly.
the bowling alley I worked at actually sold that bowling ball.
Oh.
Why did you not
nice.
buy it?
Dude, I wanted to so bad. It was $113.
I would pay that
Oh,
right
you're
now.
right.
for it.
Buy it.
I would pay
I
that
would
right
find
now.
the money somewhere.
I was 14, making
my-
$5.50 an hour,
Fair enough.
and it was always right there in the window. And I told myself that if I ever joined a bowling team, which I always wanted to do, then I would buy the
What
ball.
if you joined a
But-
bowling team now?
Right now, yeah.
Then I would probably still go out and get it.
Yes. Yeah, that's the right answer.
Good call.
I
Like
will
my-
immediately do a bowler costume.
It was so
and-
cool.
She'll propose to you
You
It
immediately.
was so cool.
tried
I'd
it
pull off
before,
one of
yeah.
them. I don't know who. A shoveler. I can do a shoveler.
Yeah, shoveler.
I've never wanted to hit something with a shovel. I mean, come on.
Right?
Putting dents in the car.
I picture Derek more as Blue Raja. personally.
Yes!
Yes.
Why don't you just
Yes.
throw
Yeah.
knives?
I
This is
mean,
the
you
Blue
know, that's pretty funny.
Oh my God.
All right, so
It would be great as
Yeah,
Blue
I
Raja.
appreciate. Yeah. So moving on. So this is where things get kind of tough here because I've got 2 picks left, and I want to
There's
make
large franchises that we
there are
haven't
some
Yeah.
large franchises. So I'm gonna save one for my number 1 if nobody hits it. So I'm gonna pick the Indiana Jones franchise.
Yes. I was thinking of them. Hell yeah.
Yeah, Ray and I were talking about it a little bit before the show about whether or not it counted as fantasy, but you've got like an actual biblically accurate Ark of the Covenant. You've got aliens in the one movie that shall not be named.
Well, no, that's part of your list, Derek.
It is part of my
They weren't
list.
aliens. They were other dimensional beings.
Haven't you ever seen that movie, Derek?
Sorry. I
had to do it.
I was still trying to work out the refrigerator nuke thing that happened in the beginning of the movie. So, but anyway, no, the Indiana Jones movies, the original one wasn't intended to be a franchise. It was just Raiders of the Lost Ark, and eventually when it was released, they threw Indiana Jones on the title, kind of what they did, with other franchises later. But yeah, I mean, they're classics. They helped put Harrison Ford on the map with the Star Wars movies, of course, and the first 3 are wonderfully fun, exciting movies. Sean Connery as his dad in The Last Crusade.
Perfect.
I mean, that's my favorite one, is
I
The
love
Last
The Last
Crusade.
Crusade.
As much as I love Raiders, I personally prefer the third one, even though Raiders is probably the better movie. But, they're great, and it's a lot of fun to think that his character does more harm than good in every movie. So,
Essentially.
Most of them, if you remove him, nothing changes.
I mean,
Yeah.
in the first one, they might not even have ever found it. They were digging in the wrong spot.
True. But if they did, they would have opened it anyways. And,
Right.
They would have
Yeah.
died.
Yeah,
So
they would have
nothing's
It's
died.
fine.
But
It's fine.
yeah, and there's just some fun little quirks about it, like the scene where Indy just shoots the guy. There was supposed to be a
Yeah.
giant fight scene there, but he was like deathly ill and couldn't do it. So I forget who even said it, but it's like, well, just have him shoot him. All right, and that's what ended up happening in the scene. So
I feel like that
One
was
take,
just
I think it was done
Yeah.
too.
Harrison Ford being awesome.
Yeah, that was
His
just
idea
that was
to
just
say
his
the
awesomeness.
"I know" line, which is iconic
Yeah.
now. So I'm pretty sure that's just him improvising. Now he doesn't do that. He shows up and asks for a paycheck and says,
Kill
and
me off.
does the minimal amount of work. That's it.
it belongs in a museum.
Yeah.
So Ray,
All right.
Your last pick.
This has got to be obvious for anybody who knows me. I have to mention this. It goes in my top 10 movies of all time. It's my favorite movie of all time. It's Wizard of Oz.
I didn't even know you liked that movie.
I mean, that's crazy. I don't have insane amounts of memorabilia everywhere. I
She really
didn't
doesn't.
spend my entire high school career sewing wings onto monkeys for
Real
But it's
monkeys.
obviously a fantasy movie.
real monkeys.
Real monkeys.
The hard part was finding the monkeys.
She just went to the zoo.
Yeah, getting them out of the zoo is the hard part.
I
Yeah,
smuggled them in my bra.
obviously.
She just
Everyone's
fly-
like,
she
wow,
just-
she's really lucky.
She just did it right there in the monkey zone,
Why are they moving? I don't get it.
just to freak out the other kids.
Why do they have arms?
Oh, those things scared me when I was a kid. Ugh.
Boobs?
Flying
Well, those two probably.
no, flying monkeys.
Yeah, see,
Flying boobs specifically.
I guess that's a
flying
huge
boob
reason
monkeys.
why it's my favorite movie too. It helps contribute. Everybody tells me how scared they were of something as a kid, and I never found it scary.
In The Wizard of Oz?
Yeah, not one thing.
No.
Even
I wouldn't
though
say I was like terrified,
Right.
you know, but no, they were creepy.
they're
Creepy is a
very
better
creepy.
term.
I completely agree with that.
I think it's too bright of a movie to be like scary.
Yeah.
I have watched
know.
that movie so many times. I can tell you like what time in the film this happens, and I can debunk all those things like the munchkin hanging in the background kind of thing. Like I
No, that really happened. I know a guy who was there.
I've actually met.
Ryan was that guy. It's a
I was
crazy
that
story.
guy.
Crazy story.
I've gotten to meet 3 of the Munchkins. I know how much on-screen time Margaret Hamilton had. I know who ended up having multiple injuries. Like, I love that film.
Do you know anything about the Munchkin orgies?
Stop it.
Just saying.
And then of course there's the whole,
I know a
whole
guy that
Pink
was there.
Floyd Dark Side of the Moon thing.
Yeah, that's
Stop
that
it.
too.
I actually really enjoyed that. I was being serious.
There are multiple.
You're about to get down.
Apparently I'm not allowed to like that. I don't know.
It's silly.
I
It's
thought it was
totally
cool.
silly.
All right. Us and them with the Munchkins was cool.
Whatever.
Okay.
Anyway,
Moving on.
Way to ruin that, Derek.
I know.
I don't think there's been a movie since that has had 4 different directors and still managed to pull off such a wonderful experience, but everything about it is great, and I could watch it every single day if I had the fortitude.
Fair enough.
So
The anniversary Blu-ray they put out really restored it quite well. It looks really awesome. So worth getting.
Oh yeah.
Robert, your last pick.
All right, last pick. So now I'm gonna do my last pick, but that doesn't diminish because I had to rule out a lot, and I know there might be some viewer or listener wondering when a certain franchise might be said, but I'm gonna go with one of the early fantasy movies that kind of set a bar, Dragon Slayer.
interesting.
Okay, deep cuts.
Yeah, it's a really early movie. You might recognize some of the actors, but they're really young. And yeah, it was one of the early kind of well done dragon movies.
Absolutely.
Never saw it.
Yeah, it's
Never even saw it.
It's
you,
got
you picked
it's
some
got a
really
wizard.
interesting movies. I got like this list now. Go and
That's
watch.
what, well, I was trying to go off the wall. I'm trying to reintroduce some of these old fantasy movies, and it's got wizards. It's got a wizard in training. It's got dragons, which I mean, putting a dragon on screen was probably unheard of.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's very dark. They kind of had to maybe possibly for hiding some of the technology at the time, but it's still a well done movie.
Cool.
So I recommend it for fantasy fans.
Awesome.
Old school.
Now, Ryan, let's see if you're going to pick the movie I think you're going to pick.
Yeah,
I feel like
am.
you should.
I mean, so we've missed a couple franchises, and guess what? If we only get one more pick after me, we're gonna miss franchises because I can think of probably 2 or 3 we haven't
agreed.
mentioned.
Totally agree.
I've got several more
But I
on
can't
my
do a
list,
top
but-
fantasy movie list without mentioning The Labyrinth.
Yeah.
David Bowie, if you live or listen to this show, you know that at least 3 of the people, I'm not sure about Robert, but 3 of the people at the table are big David Bowie fans.
Oh yeah. Big
And,
time. Love music.
there's no one else I can picture as the Goblin King. You got some fantastic Henson characters. You've got a great classic story. You got David Bowie writing the music, which was all awesome. Everything in that movie is singable. Please don't when we're watching it, but in the car maybe you can do that. That's okay, but yeah.
But I mean, great. And it shows the quality of, again, a Henson production. We have 3 Henson movies on the list between, I think.
Oh yeah.
I
think so.
There's a quality level that you expect from a Henson movie, and they got that. Hoggle and the little
Ludo
worm and Ludo, of course.
Worm,
just
the Fire Gang.
It all looks awesome. The door knockers and
Jareth himself.
Well, yeah, sure.
Incredible.
But that was mostly, David. So.
I mean, there were certain parts that were definitely David. I'm pretty sure that he wasn't stuffing anything there. Just FYI, go watch The Man Who Fell to Earth and not.
Fun fact. I saw that movie for the first time when I was 8 years old, and I realized I was heterosexual because of that.
All right, fair enough.
It's very aroused.
Fair enough. All
right.
I mean, I realized that I might not be heterosexual.
That movie is so great.
So then I guess we're on to my last one here. We're a little over the hour mark, and I'm just gonna
you have to do it.
Yeah,
right?
just have to. Lord of the Rings.
Thank you.
Lord of the Rings. For those who are not watching, I've got the box set here. Lord of the Rings is not only one of the most successful trilogies of all time, winning 22, 24 awards, something Academy Awards.
It dominated the box office. It dominated Oscars and Golden Globes.
First fantasy Oscar winner.
Absolutely.
The 3 movies grossed over $1 billion without having a superhero behind it. And the practical effects were fantastic. The cast was fantastic. I mean, it's...
The first production company, the first studio that got it, told Peter Jackson he had to make it one film.
Which is hilarious.
Stupid.
Considering
there's 3 books.
There's 3 books that each one could probably be 2 movies easily.
Right, because like Harry Potter, so much was left out.
So much. And so when
a lot. Like almost half of...
Tom Bombadil.
Yeah, Tom Bombadil.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
How many other franchises can you think of where you're willing to sit through and watch what's essentially 12, 13 hours of content for 3 movies?
Yeah.
Not a lot.
And the Return of the King, almost half that book was left out. I mean, the end battles were so much larger, and there were so many more nations in Middle Earth involved there.
How amazing Lord of the Rings is. It's equally bad for the Hobbits.
Well, I'm not talking about the Hobbit. I'm talking about the Lord of the Rings.
Guillermo del Toro had been able to do the Hobbit. Do you think it would have been any better?
I think
not if it still had to be 3 books or 3 movies. Excuse me.
It was stretched. They included some stuff from the Silmarillion in there.
Because you had to.
Was interesting.
They created a whole new character, and I mean, because look, the Lord of the Rings trilogy is 3 massively detailed novels in 3 very long movies. The Hobbit is a children's book split into 3 long movies that had their own extended editions. It's too much. It's too much for that, and they relied too much on CGI, not enough on the wonderful practical effects that made the Lord of the Rings trilogy still hold up and look pretty damn good today.
The only work that's like weird to go back is some of the green screen.
Some of the green screen stuff, yeah.
Do you know one of the reasons why they actually expanded it to include some of that stuff from the Silmarillion?
Money.
That, but also they were going to make other movies from the Silmarillion,
right?
And that idea was pulled.
Well, they weren't allowed to.
Yeah,
the Tolkien estate wouldn't let them do
exactly.
Which seems odd to me. I'm sure they have their reasons. I'm not saying that they were right or wrong, but
from the Silmarillion, you're going to have to take a lot of liberties to make that on screen because it
was like an encyclopedia.
Yeah, it reads like a history book.
But they took liberties in the Hobbit movies by creating an entire new character who didn't exist before.
Tauriel was fine. I did not have an issue with Tauriel.
I'm not saying that it was a bad decision. I'm saying it was a liberty. That character did not exist.
Well, Tolkien had issues against women. It's
so again, I'm not necessarily complaining. I'm just saying if the concern of the estate was the liberties that they would take, they were taking liberties.
Yes.
That's my point. They were already doing that to adapt these things into movies because, look, when they were written, a movie like a movie is today didn't exist.
Correct.
And it wouldn't have been something that Tolkien could have even thought of.
No, now people write books and hoping they get movie deals.
Yeah, like, I'm sorry, brain fart. Elrond's daughter.
Arwen.
Arwen. Yes, Arwen. she did not save the hobbits
No.
in the movie. It was Glorfindel, who only made a cameo in
Yeah.
the movies.
There you go.
Glorfindel was a major player.
So I mean, they were already taking liberties. But anyway, the point is,
but it was good. It was good. They were amazing movies.
massively successful. I mean, the Academy, the Oscars, for really the first time legitimized fantasy films by giving out so many freaking awards to these movies. I think it was 22 or 24 Academy Awards the
And it was
trilogy won.
well
Yeah.
deserved. Those
Yeah.
actors bled for their craft. Viggo Mortensen was in the hospital over and over again with, broken ribs and chipped teeth. So that man bled for his craft, and they deserve all the accolades for it. They're great films.
Oh yeah,
So there you have it. I think that's a good note to end on.
it was.
But we've left out so
There's
much.
so many
Legend,
movies.
Time Bandits,
Oh,
Pan's
yes.
Labyrinth.
I had all those on here. Maleficent was actually a good movie.
Beauty and the Beast.
Ghostbusters, Big Trouble in Little China, Groundhog
Well,
Day.
Ghostbusters,
Jungle-
I purposely left off
I enjoyed
because we
the
talked
recent
about it
Jungle
with
Book.
sci-fi.
That's why I haven't.
So-
That's why
The
I
Jungle Book I enjoyed.
Yeah.
I was gonna throw in, if we had some time, I was gonna
Dark
throw
Shadows
in
made me laugh.
at a minimum the first Pirates of the Caribbean.
Not on the best list, sorry.
The first one
was
is
good.
a great.
Fine.
good.
It was nowhere near any of the movies we talked about.
Another Dick Van Dyke old school, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. I mean,
So much fun.
there's so many good movies out there.
I wanted to put Legend on my list. I love Legend.
Legend's great. Tim Curry, man. So good.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But that's it for us. If there's anything that we left off or didn't mention that you think should have made the list, please let us know. You can comment on the article. You can hit us up at Heroes Podcasts on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, or heroespodcast.com. You can subscribe to us on iTunes at screen-heroes.com. We're also on Google Play, Blog Talk Radio. Find us, subscribe, drop us a review, all that kind of good stuff.
Give us money.
Give us money on our Patreon. Yes, we have to buy some new equipment. Actually, we have to return our big mic here to its owner and buy a couple of new mics for us to use. So, go to patreon.com/heroespodcast if you enjoy the show at all, and drop us even $1 helps. Everything helps.
Absolutely.
Indeed.
Big shout out to our top 2 contributors on Patreon, Jordan and Doc Rev. We appreciate it, guys. You guys have been supporting us for a long time. Jordan, well over a year. So thank you guys for that.
Check out Buster Props.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Check out the Star Trek dude.
Sure. Yeah, you can do that.
Yeah.
You're Ray of the Super Sirens.
I am.
And Robert.
I just went ahead and created a new cosplay page on
Woo!
Facebook called KC Vigilante.
Follow that.
There you go. But we'll be back next week. I think we are... What are we doing next week?
We're talking about epic heroes again. Will Smith this time.
Big Willie. Fresh Prince. I'll have plenty to say about Will, so...
Well, then Ryan and I can take the night off. We'll go play some video games.
No. Join us next
you've
week,
got
guys.
this.
Don't forget you can join us live every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern at twitch.tv/heroespodcast. And you can chat with us just like Jordan did tonight. We'll catch you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.
Everybody.
Take care.